Hey, what's up guys, it's still from Concept. So today we are going to look at how to get this window blinds effect in your images. Let's get started. Welcome to Concept. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Alright, so I'll go ahead and open up my application here. For this tutorial, I'll be using this particular image I have in here. I'm not going through how to edit the images, how to retouch and all of that. Those are in subsequent tutorials, so you can check the links in the description below. But the first thing I'm going to do is actually expand this. But before that, you have to make sure it is a layer instead of the background, the lock background. So click on the lock icon. Then I prefer to use the 4x5 or 8x10 size. So I just resize my image to something like this before I even start with the whole design. So once I have this, let's grab the rectangular marquee tool and I'll create a selection like so over here. Now I want one selection here and another here, so I hold down the shift key so that I can create another selection by clicking and dragging. Now once I have this, right click and go to fill. Then in the content, make sure content aware is selected and click on OK. Then Photoshop is going to do its magic to fill in those areas. Now once this is done, I'll just right click and go to deselect. Now we can start with our images. Now once this is done, we can start actually adding the window blinds. So in my case, I actually download these window blinds effects from Google, but like I said, you have to use third-party plugins to get this effect in Adobe Photoshop. So if you go ahead to look through, you may find some that you think are okay for what you are going to use for. I already have some pre-downloaded on my computer, but I'll go ahead and find some which I hope I can use. So in this case, you know what, let's go with this one. If you look at the size here, it's a bit too small, but I think it should work just fine for this image. So I'll go ahead and open the image up in a new tab. Then afterwards, I'll just right click and save the image. It's a bit too small, but we'll work with it. All right. So let's go ahead and open up that particular image in Photoshop as well. So right click, open with Photoshop. So what we are going to do is actually change the background of this particular image. And to do that, I'll use the quick selection tool and I'll go up here where we have the tools bar at the top and click on select subject. Now this is a lot easier if you have a similar color in the background. It makes it a lot easier for Photoshop to identify the subject in the image. Now that is done, I was just about to continue, but I realized that there's a bit of a mistake here. It didn't quite select it entirely, but that is cool. So I'll be using the lasso tool to create a selection around this particular area as well. So what I'll do is I'll just hold down the shift key and just click around the particular area that Photoshop failed to add in. So if there's any other mistake, like this particular part, if you want to take away, you hold down the Alt key instead to take away this area. Then the shift key to actually add to the selection. So I'll create a selection around here like so. So I'll just go through and see if everything is okay. I think everything is fine. If you're working with your images, then it is best for you to just go through all of that. But this is a tutorial. I wouldn't want to waste your time. So I right click still with the quick selection to active or any selection to active. Just right click and go to layer via copy. Then with that, we are going to actually change the background. As you can see, we have removed the background from our image. So I'll go ahead and select the bottom layer and I'll actually sample a color from here. So I think this dark color should work with all of them. Click on OK. Then I'll go into the adjustment panel right here and click on gradient. You can use a solid color, but a solid color will make it look very obvious that it is edited. So I usually go with the gradient so that I can just control how much of the effect I'm getting. So it fades in from the gray color we just selected for our foreground into a lighter color, which is the color of the background, which is already down here. Then I'll just click on OK. Now if you think this is a little bit too obvious, you can also reduce the opacity to about 50% should be fine. Let me just bring this up a little bit more. Now this is looking quite okay. So we are going to add in our image. So this is the image I got from Google. We have to select it out of here, so make sure it is not a locked background, it's just a layer. Go to the move tool, you can see from here, click and hold, bring it over to your image and just drop it in here like so. Now we don't need this anymore, so I'll just go ahead and delete it up. Now as you can see, the image is just too small. Oops, sorry about that. You can see that the image is too small. So what I'll do is I'll right click and go to convert to smart object. Now this allows Photoshop to keep the pixels as much as possible, so anytime we increase the sizes, it doesn't pixelate as much as it would. So I think I'll place window blind should go somewhere around here and click on OK. And as you can see, it didn't pixelate as much as it would have if we didn't make it a smart object. So I'll use my move tool to fill it up, resize it to however I want and just click on OK. Now this is how the effect is already going to look like, but it looks too edited. So what we do is, you know what, I want the bottom here to be a little bit much better. So I'll just bring it somewhere around here and resize to fill up the entire screen like so. And this is looking much better. So what we do is just reduce the opacity of the window blinds in the background to about 50 or 80 should be just fine. And you already have this effect. In my case, I have other images of window blinds that I use, so I'll actually grab those instead. So I think I have one over here, so I'll just click and drag this into Photoshop and just resize it like so, place it where I want it to be. You know what, I'll turn off the eyeball of this one, and this is the effect I get. Reduce the opacity to about 70 or 80 by just pressing 7 or 8, and this is what we have. Now this is looking much better for me, other than having the actual image which is like this. So this is the before and the after. So this is a simple example of how to get this particular design in your Photoshop images. Now before I let you go, there are some people who are like me and would like to create everything from scratch rather than downloading any image from Photoshop. So if you're among those few people, then this part is for you. We'll be actually creating several rectangles, so grab the rectangle tool or press U on your keyboard and we'll create a rectangle like so whilst holding down the shift key. So something like this is just fine. And let's create a duplicate. So using the move tool, I'll hold down the alt key and just click and drag to one side. I'll also hold down the shift key so that I can keep it horizontally. So I'll just click and drag like so. You know what, let's hide the image so that we can actually see what we are doing. So something like this is just fine. Let me place this a bit closer. So with these 4 rectangles, let's duplicate again. You can also use Ctrl J to duplicate. I think that's a lot easier, or you can just click and drag using the move tool. So I'll just create another duplicate. So I think something like this is just fine. Now we are going ahead to merge all of these images. So highlight all of them, select the first one, hold down the shift key, select the last one, right click and go to merge shapes. Then change it to whatever color you want. So in this case, I'll be using white because light, it looks nicer with white basically. So once we have that, I'm going to stretch it out to however I want. And I think I'm actually even going to rotate this. So let's rotate this to about 90 degrees. So that we can have that nice window blinds effect. Now once you've done that, hold down Ctrl key and press T to bring up the transform options. You notice you have the transform options active when you have these 3 options here. So with that, I'll be holding down the Ctrl key. If you hover over the edge here, you notice we have this resize arrow or double arrow for resizing the image. If I hold down the Ctrl key, you notice that it changes to this white cursor for us. Now this is what we want. Now once I hold down the Ctrl key, if I click and drag, you notice that we are able to deform or distort our image like so. But what I want to do is I want it to have a specific angle, so like 90 degrees, 45 or 180 degrees. So to do that, I hold down the shift key so that it's going to always be aligned perfectly like so. If I leave the shift key, you notice I can move it around. If I hold it down, I can't do that anymore. So I'll increase the height to something like this and do something similar also down here. So something like this is looking quite nice. Hit enter and click yes. So if I bring my images back, let's do that. This is what I have. So what I'll do now is with the rectangle, I'll just reduce the opacity to something interesting. But before that, we also have to blur this window blinds effect we've created already so that it doesn't look like it's too edited. So I'll go to filter, go to blur and click on Gaussian blur. Yes, convert to smart object, and I'll blur it up about 20, 15, or let's try whichever works for this. So I think 20 pixels is just fine, and I'll click on OK. Now yours might be different, so just go with whichever pixels work for you. So once I have this effect, I'll just reduce the opacity to what I feel comfortable with, and I think this is looking much better. So that is about it. This is what we have from Google. If this is what you want, you can definitely use that. I feel if you already have a set of window blinds effect, there's no need creating it. But if you want to do it from scratch, then you can get something like this for your design, and you can always stretch it out however you want at any point in time. So something like this is going to be quite cool. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like to watch more of our videos, hit that subscribe button, and as always, don't forget to share with your family and friends. This is Theo from Final Concept, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.